What makes families work, all of this is dependent upon communication. How did we do it before? We had runners. Anyone ever heard of marathon? Yeah, well, that guy he actually ran further than 26.2 miles, but that's okay. He went and told them that they won, and then he had to run back. He did, he really did. So then there's horseback, the Pony Express. We're trying to get it faster. We want to go faster. Then there was semaphore, people waving flags, and there's all kinds of different semaphores, not just waving flags. Boats. Put the document on a boat and send it across the ocean. Assuming the boat makes it, they didn't all. It's going to take you a couple of weeks to get between the United States and Europe, or to get between the United States and Japan, or get from Asia to, it's not just about us, okay? To get different places on a boat takes some time, and it's pretty hazardous. Trains, well, when we finally had trains, we could put mail on trains. And they were pretty speedy compared to horses. They didn't get tired, but they could only go where the rails went. Once the rails ended, then you had to put it on a horse, and well. So we're back to where we started. Morse code starts with electricity and magnetism. And when did that start? We're going to go from the beginning. Let's go from the beginning. Well, all right. Back in ancient Egypt, somebody finally wrote down some stuff in 2750, as near as whoever looked this up can date it. And they talked about these really shocking fish they found in the Nile. Remember, people fished, not just for sport, so they didn't starve. And some of these fish were pretty exciting. An electric catfish. Imagine what Fred thought when he first grabbed hold of one of those. They can provide a pretty healthy jolt. These were rediscovered, or at least rewritten about, in Greece in about 1700 BCE. And we're still talking about these electric things, but there was some other stuff going on. Talus of Miletus, documented. Anybody read Greek?
No,
Well, I can't tell you what it says.
it's all Greek to me.
Yeah, it's all Greek. It actually says electron. Hold on. The Greeks knew Niels Bohr's theory of atomic structure? Actually, no. Electron was just Talus of Miletus wrote about it in 600 BC. Electron is actually the word for amber. Amber has this very curious quality the Greeks talked about. If it got dirty, you couldn't clean it off. The more you worse it got, more stuff stuck to it. Nobody quite understood this, but electron is a Greek word for amber. Then, okay, fine. William Gilbert, Bill, distinguishes magnetic from electric forces around 1600. He said, yeah, this stuff, moves things around, but it's different. They're not the same. I know it looks the same, but they're not the same. And from about that point on, we began to pay closer attention. Benjamin Franklin, finally, he survives his experiment with convective electric charging. In 1752, he stores electric charge in a Leyden jar. Anybody know what a Leyden jar is? You ever read about it? What is it?
Like capacitor.
It's a capacitor. It's a capacitor that's in the form of a jar.
Yeah.
They put metal on both sides of the jar, and the glass was the insulator, and that's a capacitor.
That's no fair. Bill was around and helped.
Well, yeah, Bill made some, yeah. But yeah, so we had capacitors. They didn't call them capacitors, they called them wave jars, but still. And he stored charge in one, and they all knew that electricity is what did this. The knowledge of electromagnetism increases exponentially from this point onward, because now we're on to something. So what's the motivation of this thing? Why? Obviously communication, right? Trains, then we have stagecoaches. So what motivated Samuel Finley Breese Morse to come up with this? Well, he was the son of a Calvinist. It's astonishing he survived that. And he was fascinated by electromagnetism. It was kind of the thing at that time. And he thought, this must be good for something. Surely, don't call me surely someone can use this to communicate somehow. And it would be used for governance. Imagine, why did Rome have so much trouble back in the good old days? Because they couldn't talk to each other. One side of Rome couldn't communicate with the other side of Rome in time to do anything about the problems. Finance, look, it's all about money. It's always about money. It's about governance and money. We really don't need, okay, business, that's about money, all right? Well, okay, and the military. If you gotta go kill other guys, you wanna be able to do it really efficiently, and the best way to be efficient about it is to be able to communicate what to do. Well, and then there's the personal aspect of it. It's really nice to talk to your family and find out how the kids are and make sure everybody's doing well. So the personal motivation is actually what got Morse to take action and to decide that the electromagnetism was more than a pleasant curiosity. He was in Washington. Morse was a painter. He painted portraits. That's how he made it. But he was relatively good at it. So he was in Washington, D.C., painting a portrait. Unknown to him, his wife was taken ill. And a letter was sent. That's how you communicate. A letter was sent to him to tell him his wife was sick and he really had to leave and come back home. By the time it arrived, she died. By the time he got back, she'd been buried. He decided that we need to do better. That was his motivation for developing the telegraph and the code that went with it. Well, okay, how did he apply this? Well, there's all kinds of techniques. He wasn't the first to want to use electromagnetics to communicate over large distances. It had been done in all kinds of strange, arcane ways before him. Telegraph comes from the two Greek roots, tele and graphen, meaning distant writing. So how do we send letters all the time? How do we do this faster? So there was a method developed in 1825 where there was a moving needle that would go left and right, and they encoded stuff in that, but it was pretty slow and wasn't very reliable, and there were all kinds of concepts that sort of slowed this process down. There were moving veins. Well, how does that work? What were moving veins? Well, it needed a little cook, and Wheatstone did this. You've heard of a Wheatstone bridge? That's the guy. And they did this with moving veins, and it's a weird gadget. So this is what the thing actually looked like, and it's a little hard to see, but here's what it really does. It had 5 wires, and it moved these veins around. So if in this particular instance, where they intersect is the letter being sent, and it was sent from a keyboard. You only had 25 letters, but that's okay. We can interpolate based on a word that and what we've gotten so far. But it was kind of slow. It was faster than the horse, it was faster than a runner, it was faster than boats and trains, but it was still kind of slow. And wire back then wasn't as good as it is now. We were just learning how to make the stuff. And it wasn't very well insulated, it wasn't very uniform, and it broke a lot. And the more wires you got, the worse this is going to be. So the thought was, well, maybe we should try something different. So 10 years later, Morse and Vail. Morse gets together and he says, I got this idea. I think if we could send stuff over a wire a long distance and make it simple, and like only one wire, or maybe two, we could make this work a little bit better. So Morse got together, he's the idea guy. Vail was the craftsman. He had a degree in mechanical engineering at the time. He was a machinist and he was an inventor. And so they came up with a system like what we're used to. Here's the key. Here's the sounder. It tapped. You press the key, the sounder would close and make a clunk. You release the key, it would make a different sounding clunk or click. And so you sent this by closing and opening a key, which then actuated an arm here. And Vail developed a system to use this arm to make marks on a paper. Remember when I said we wanted to write over a distance? We're still trying to write it down with the device we use over the distance. We're trying to write this down. And so that's how we're going to do it. Now, it has other things. I mean, this makes a permanent record, a permanent paper record. So you can't make mistakes or you can't fake it. So the first Morse telegraph message, anyone remember what he sent and where he sent it between? No. What hath God wrought? Yeah, was what he sent. It went between Washington, D.C. and Baltimore. Not very far, but still, he did this in seconds. And this machine made marks on a paper tape. And this is written down on the original paper tape that he sent, what hath God wrought? If you look carefully at this, you can see little marks, but let's zoom it in. So that's what the marks actually looked like. They were made with little needles that would, when you close the key, this paper moved along, and when you close the key, it would move under these little needles and make marks on the paper. I didn't want to use ink because who wants to sit there constantly dabbing ink on what amounts to a fountain pen with no reservoir? So how did Morse originally want to do this? He wanted to encode words into anywhere from 3 to 4 digit numbers and then have a dictionary. So you would send a series of 3 or 4 different numbers. You would read them off the tape because they would kind of look like this. And then you would go to a dictionary and you would take each number that you read off of that tape and you would look it up in the dictionary. And he spent a few months putting this together. And it worked. But Vail said, hold on, Sam. I can call you Sam, right? He said, I think we can get rid of a step here. What if we just sent the letters instead of trying to encode words? What if we just sent letters? And then we could just read them, which is what you saw. And so it was called at the time the alpha code. What did he do? Well, okay, there's a lot of different ways to encode this. he decided to encode it as short and long pulses, what we call today dots and dashes, dits and dots. Except they weren't dits and dots then. They were blips and dunkles. Okay, but there's different ways to encode the letters, and some are shorter and some are longer. What's the most efficient way to send the letters? Well, obviously the most common letters should be the shortest set of dits and dots. Thus, E is a dit. And after that, the less common the letters, the longer they are. How did Vail figure this out? He went to a printer and he said, how many E's do you have versus how many Z's? And he counted them up. He essentially made a bar graph of the most common and the least common letters. That's how we decided how to make the code such that it was most efficient. So the most common letter took the least amount of time to send. Come in. So it is better. Somebody
Disney,
is you?
Disney, better now.
Okay. So Vail was responsible for better encoding. The fundamental title in Vail's code, and to this day, is the dit. That's the fundamental unit of time in any kind of Morse code. It's what we call Morse code. Now, the original code that Vail came up with, can you make that go away?
It will be here, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. This is the code we use today. Okay, I'm going to give you a hint. Never, never, never decide to try to learn code by looking at a graph like this. How do I know this to be true? Because that's how I did it. And it just makes it harder. It's all sound. This is all about sounds. Do it by sound. That's a digression. This is what our code looks like. See these little bars here? That's the length of a dit. There's a dit. Intra-element spacing is one dit. So A is da. A da is 3 dits long. The spacing between a word is 3 dits long. Okay. How did Vail do this? Well, a lot of his letters looked like ours, but the das are shorter. See, they're 2 dits long instead of 3. Oh, but he added a little thing to this. C for us is da 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 da. For Vail, it was did it did. It's faster. It makes sense. That's how they did it on the landlines. Was they used this code. And by landlines, I mean the old telegraph and railroad stuff. We're going to get to that in a minute. But the other thing Vail had was long DAWs. So L for the international code, or the ICAO code, International Civil Aviation Organization, L is da did it. For Vail, it was da. It was a da that was twice as long as the standard one. But they got longer. O was 3 times as long as the standard. And 0 was even longer, or 0 was 3 times as long as the standard. For us, it's 5 DAWs. For Vail, it was a long one. Okay, now this all sounds really good, but it's also prone to error because it requires the sender, this guy, to have excellent timing. And it also requires a pretty quiet line. It's wires. Come on. How quiet do you need it to be? Well, let's examine how they did it. I promised I wouldn't go into a lot of technology in this, but I'll go into this much. Telegraph, wired telegraph was one wire. They didn't use two, they only used one. How'd they do that? It's DC. How much DC? 100 to 160 volts, depending on how far you were going. What was the return? How did you do this with DC? Ground was the return. Now, we all talk about how lousy grounds are for stuff like this, but if you do it right and you pay close attention, you can have pretty good ones. How did they do good ones? I can tell you they didn't drive in 8-foot ground rods from Lowe's. They took like 3 square foot plates of zinc and they would bury that in the ground on both ends. What does that do for you? Imagine ground as being a whole bunch of little resistors in parallel, or a whole bunch of big resistors in parallel, a couple of K each. What happens when you put 2 resistors of equal value in parallel? The result is half that value. What if you put 5 resistors, 10, 100, thousands, and all an uncountable amount? Well, pretty soon the resistance gets lower because you have a whole bunch of little resistors in parallel. That's how they made ground return work. How far could they do it? Depended on where you were, but it could be tens of miles. Oh, one last thing. Let's go back here. So, a guy named Gerke, German, said, this. I think we can do a little bit better because this code is prone to error. We're getting a lot of errors here. So he came up with a code that doesn't have the intra-character spaces and for which all DAWs are the same length. It's very close to what we have today. It was adopted in 1865 in Europe, and from all of this process of getting better in coding, we still have the left E, H, K, and N. Those are original Morse code, Veil Morse code characters. So, wait a minute, hold on a second. What about Chinese? What about Japanese? What about Russian? What about all those weird European languages with all those funny letters? How about that? Well, there are encodings for all of those. Each one of these has its own encoding. Chinese, you say? Really? Chinese? How do they do that? Well, the Chinese character set is almost as have as many of those. They have words almost, and so they have contracted them into essentially what amounts to the Japanese got the hiragana. That's how the Chinese do it. So wait, so what does this stuff sound like? How can you tell the difference? Can you tell the difference? There used to be a group of hands that would maintain American Morse little nets, if you will, where they would talk to each other using American Morse. I don't think they're around anymore, but I listen to them most of it. What does it sound like? Well, let's listen within American Morse. These are the letters that are absolutely, totally different. What do they sound like? That's our Morse. That's the one we use today. What did it sound like in Vail's Morse or on the railroads? It wasn't tones, it was clicks, but we can get an idea. Z. Is that sounded like what we do? But it goes a lot faster. It's about 20% faster. The encoding is about 20% more efficient than what we have. So because of the shorter DAWs and the prevalence of more dits, American Morse sounds very ditty to us. It sounds like it's very lightweight. We talk about it when we send Morse, is it a heavyweight or a lightweight? A lightweight uses DAWs that are a little bit shorter than 3 dits. The heavyweight uses a DAW that's a little bit longer and adjusts the intra-element space. Ideally, it's 3-to-1. And that's what I always strive for. But when people send by hand, it can become a little bit different. So because American Morse is ditty, it's a little bit faster. So, okay, what is this? Okay, I said we're gonna hear some beeping. So we're gonna hear some beeping. So let's listen to Oklahoma City in ICAO code. There we go. That's Oklahoma City. If you can read code, fine. If you can't, trust me. It's gibberish to us because we're used to the ICAO code. Okay, how about where we live? Okay, that's the ICAO code. Here's what it is in the old code. Some are similar, some are the same. How about W5NOR? We've all heard this on the repeater. Don't tell me you don't know what that is. Here it is in American Morse. Really? That's it. It's American Morse. Okay, some notable events. We really wanted to do this across continents. So we laid a cable, a couple of almost 3,000 miles long, between the United States and the UK, undersea cable. I'm not going to get into it, but that was an astonishing feat in itself. What was in it? Well, it was a lead case with some other sheaths and other casing around it, and 2 wires, maybe a couple more, that used stuff called gutta percha as insulation. What is that? It's from a particular plant. You take the sap and it's kind of like rubber. It polymerizes and it gets hard and tough. Anybody ever had a root canal? Oh, come on. Don't give me that. Okay, I have. And gutta percha is what they put in the hole that they make in your tooth after they do a root canal. This stuff is tough. It's really tough. It's waterproof, it's sticky, it does all the things it's supposed to do. Remember, we still weren't very good at making wires.
So we're back to amber?
No, almost, yeah. Almost. Amber is fossilized, it's not polymerized, but anyway.
Okay.
So what did we say? Oh, 19 August 1858, Queen Victoria sends a message to the US President James Buchanan. 98 words. This is gonna be great. Think how fast this is going. It would take 2 to 3 weeks to send him a letter that says this on a boat, assuming the boat made it. So how long did it take? 16 hours to send a 98-word message. It's better than it was. Okay, yeah, well, that's a success. But this isn't right, because this isn't what we expected when we laid this cable. What's going on? What was going on was that they had ignored some work by a guy in Oliver Heaviside, who had determined that when you start getting really long wires, they start to act like not just wires. They start to act like capacitors and inductors. This led, I hope you're up on your calculus, because what we have here is a couple of linear linked partial differential equations that They're called the telegrapher's equations. They describe how wires behave when they get really long. This describes it in the time domain because it's really straightforward. Instead of the frequency domain, T is time, X is location along the wire, V is voltage, I is current, R is resistance, C is capacitance, L is inductance, and G is conductance. See, inverse of resistance. We can combine these, I'm not going to do it for you, into a single equation that describes transmission lines, coax, twin lead. This is why it works. So somebody looked up Heaviside's work and they said, hold on. Do you think this is what's going on? And they said, yeah, pretty much. It's acting like he said it would, because this kind of stuff allows us to model what it looks like. We can predict what 1,000 miles of a twisted pair, how it acts, or not twisted pair, because they didn't even know about that. How's that going to act? We can now predict it. So how did they fix it? They didn't make coax, and they didn't make twisted pair, and they didn't make twin lead. They figured out the capacitance per unit length, and they would neutralize this with lumped inductors along the length of the wire. And so 3 years later, after they burned up the first one, by trying a higher voltage, the poor guy that tried it was right, that the wire wasn't up to it. He got blamed for destroying the transatlantic cable. It wasn't his fault. Somebody said make it work, because that's what he tried to do. So they laid another one. And that worked a lot better. And I included this to make Mark happy. He insisted on equations, and so here they are. All right, so now we've figured this much out, and we're sending telegrams back and forth across the country, back and forth across continents. But we've got to go faster. We've got to go faster. So let's come up with some standard abbreviations that we could use. So a guy named Phillips came up with 4,688, just like the holy hand grenade, not 89, 87 is right out. Nobody got that.
Yeah.
Oh, no,
Or some.
yeah, okay. So he came up with abbreviations. What were these abbreviations like? They had a book, by the way, telegraphers, because nobody, we're pretty good, but nobody could memorize 4,688. So they had a book in case they came across one they hadn't heard of. And by the way, when people begin to listen to the sounders and not look at the paper tape, nobody ever thought people could do that and just listen to it and know what it is and write it down. They were convinced we couldn't do that. Now, people who played music for thousands of years. Why we thought you couldn't then listen to this rhythm and figure out what it is? Okay, fine.
Engineers.
So some of them were just numbers. One was wait a moment. HR was here. You'll hear this one a lot if you use Morse code on the air. 10 was keep this circuit closed. The way landline telegraphs worked, they were either closed, which meant whatever you sent went across many offices, or it was open and then stopped at that office. Y was year. 13 was I understand. PLS is please. 134 is who is this? It's probably not a good one to get. In this minute, we use these all the time. 14, what's the weather? Yeah, I like that one. SFR is suffer. I don't think I've ever used suffer in any QSO I've been involved in, but there it is because you had to send messages to family, sometimes convey good or bad news. There's some good ones. 17 is lightning here. Yes, lightning affected landline telegraphs. Why did lightning affect landline telegraphs? Because it invoked ground currents. What a ground currents do, they make your sounder clack when nobody's making it clack except the lightning. So if you were having trouble, you said your excuse was there was lightning here. I love this one. Seduce. I don't think I've ever talked about seducing anything on the air, but there it is. Okay, there's some pretty interesting words here because lawyers use this a lot in their correspondence. So I'm sure this appeared in somebody's lawsuit somewhere.
All this profession.
Yes. Then there's 19, Form 19 train order. Gee, but Christmas, what in the world is that? Remember, these were railroad telegraphers. What's a Form 19 train order? I'm sure Peter Laws knows, but maybe nobody else here does. It was a special order that didn't have to be signed by anybody. It was approved as it went out, and it had to be handed to the train as it went by on a hoop. This was like, who you gonna meet, where do you have to stop to manage traffic, this kind of stuff. Because if the train had to stop, it used a lot of time. And time is money. We didn't want to waste money. So a Form 19 train order was like a special thing. Here comes a Form 19 train order. Get it out. Vituperative. I got it. That's that. I don't think I've ever even written anything with this wording. So, but Phillips had an abbreviation for it. Must have been used. Okay. Now let's talk about one of the most famous aspects of Morse code that any of us have ever heard of. It's the RMS. Titanic. Anyone know what the difference between RMS and HMS is? RMS is Royal Mail Ship. It's civilian. HMS is Her Majesty's ship. That's military. So what happened? Well, everybody knows what happened, but let's review it anyway. April 12th, 1912, roughly 1,500 people died. It is the most famous example of wireless use in a maritime emergency. We're going to talk about this in a minute. What did the Titanic have on board? It had state-of-the-art radio equipment, a 5 kW spark transmitter. Imagine this. 5 kW of spark. It was pretty loud. It was in its own room, insulated from the rest of the passengers so it would keep them awake. It used a synchronous rotary gap. What's that? We'll get to it in a minute. And a Marconi T antenna with a 150-foot vertical span and then 600 feet horizontally from one end of the boat to the other. It's a top-loaded vertical. That's what it is, called a Marconi antenna. They used 600-meter wavelength. They talked in wavelengths at that time. They could tune about 1,000 kilohertz, so about a megahertz. They did this with what you would expect, capacitors and inductors on the antenna. And so it was a well-equipped radio transmitter. They hit the iceberg. Captain came in and said, it's CQD, boys. CQD, anyone know what that is? CQ distress. That was the distress signal in its day. There was a new one that had just been introduced called SOS. It is not the individual letters SOS. It is all one pro sign. Did it da 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 did it, not did it da 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 did it. It's supposed to, they did that because it had a very unique sound and there was nothing else even remotely like it. The Titanic used both. It's been said, and it is true, that the Titanic was warned about icebergs in the vicinity by other ships. And it has been said, and is true, that the operators said, go away, we're sending traffic. Marconi put these on luxury boats so that people could send messages and show how sophisticated they were to their friends. And people just ate it up. How much money did they make off of this? Each message in today's money would cost about $10, maybe 20 if you got really wordy. Each message. These were short and they used the Morse Code. So they were rolling in the money when they did this. So that was their job. They were not employees of Cunard, which operated the Titanic. They were employees of the Marconi Company. The Marconi Company leased that station to Cunard. It wasn't there primarily for safety. It was there to make money. So they did obviously finally send out the distress code, and the Carpathia came and helped them out. But it's important to recognize why it was there, what they were doing, and that they were doing their job. This led to major changes in maritime radio operation, major changes in how it all worked, major changes in why ships must have radio stations on them, and why it was owned by the boats. So what's Morse code's legacy? Well, it's all these things. It transformed everything. Everything that we did, governance, finance, banking, business, personal communications, across international borders. It's resilient and it's efficient and it's simple, and it ushered in modern digital communications. It is, in fact, a digital mode. Hard to think about that. You are the UART, so you don't need a computer to copy it. And that's one of the simplest things about it. Yeah, you need a radio if you need a wire, but you're the UART. So if your OS crashes, okay, it's over. But if your computer's OS crashes, you gotta reboot it, you gotta finish the update, you gotta do all this stuff. So it is fundamentally simple. All right, these are all the things that it did. Obviously, if you watch any World War II documentary, or movie, anything about World War II, Morse code is dominant. That's the communications that was used. And so it revolutionized how the military communicated across its different bits and pieces. And it led to a bloom in cryptology and cryptography. How do we encode it so the other guys don't know what we're doing? Well, how about some fun stuff? Okay, what did this stuff sound like? Initially, on the website, Mark, bless your heart, said that Morse code had been used for centuries in radio communications. We haven't had radio communication for centuries. We haven't even had Morse code for centuries, but it's been used. So what did it sound like? What did this stuff sound like? All right, let's just use a mechanical interrupter, spark transmitter, received with a diode detector, AM, using a 60 hertz interrupter. Funny, 60 hertz, where does that come from? Okay, this is the Marconi station in Poldhu, Elmore. We really did 50 hertz at that time, but let's listen. PM is the call letters for Poldhu. Kind of sounds like a sort of a demented RFI source on the power line. So let's use a 125 hertz AC generator to make the spark. These are, by the way, these are real spark transmitters, EDPs. What does that sound like? This is Fessenden's Brant Rock, Massachusetts transmitter. Oh, got interrupted by me talking. All right, let's think a little. This is what the Titanic's note would have sounded like. 125 hertz synchronous rotary spark gap on positive and negative peaks. All right. It's kind of beginning to sound like what we're used to listening to. It almost sounds modern. These things have to be adjusted though, because they weren't adjusted right, they didn't sound right. Or they would sound like this, as you make if you made the spark gap too narrow. So you had to adjust this. Some more trivia here. How fast its speed is all about how fast it goes. Remember, there's a group that I'm part of called N5OP, which is it's a conceit, but their little slogan is accuracy transcends speed. So a good telegrapher, a professional, who makes a living at this, with a straight key would go about 15 words a minute. You can go faster in bursts, but trust me, it really gets tiring. You think, oh, turn. Now you're doing this in several arms, so it can get pretty tiring. A semi-automatic key or bug, these things, what it has, this is a little spring arm with a set of contacts right here. You pressed on this side of the panel, you would release the arm and it would bounce back and forth. You controlled how quickly it bounced back and forth by your placement of this weight. When it was further out, it was slower. When it was closer, it was faster. A semi-automatic key could 18 to 30 words a minute. And that's about the limit because you still had to make the DAWs yourself. Well, how about an electronic keyer, which is what you'll see people with during field day. It's just a switch, dits are on this side, DAWs are on this side, and you don't make any of them, you tell an electronic device to make them. So you press one side, it goes, you press the other side, it goes da 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 da, or goes da 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 da. There are iambic keyers. If you press both paddles simultaneously, it goes da 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 da. So it can help you along in that regard. You can easily do about 35 words a minute with this. You can some guys can go really fast, faster with them, but that's 35 is kind of my limit. What's the fastest ever that anyone's copied code? Wow, that's got to be something, right? Well, it depends on how you define speed. Ted McElroy and Levon McDonald were commercial operators. They weren't hands, and they could copy about 75 words per minute plain text on a typewriter. So they typed everything. They said that they were probably limited by typing speed. They could copy faster, just couldn't type them faster. Iana Shataru from Romania holds the current International Amateur Radio Union high-speed telegraphy world record. This is astonishing. His maximum copy speed for call signs, only call signs, not plain text, was 1,160 characters per minute, which is approximately 232 words per minute. I've actually listened to this, and it's verified in 2025. It was using this bit of software. So I've probably chewed up far more time than was available to me, but hey, life sucks. here's all the websites I used, and I'm open to questions, comments, derision. Go ahead. Yes.
Question for you on telegraph.
Uh-huh.
What type of wire did they use? Because you watch the old movies, they just climb up there and clip on, or they cut the wire, they put their own
That's
feed on there or whatever.
that's a really good question, and I don't know for sure, but I think that's where the concept of copper weld came from, steel wire with a copper outside to it, because it was better than steel.
Mhm.
It didn't corrode, and it was pretty strong. But I really honestly don't know what kind of wire they used
Okay.
on one-line telegraphs. Yes.
What's the approximate timeline when the code changed from American to Morse to ICAO?
Actually, it for radio, it changed about World War One for radio, but the American code remained used on the railroad lines until they stopped using telegraphs. So they never went to the international code, but most of those operators could copy both. Sometimes they could copy both simultaneously. It was astonishing. When you do this day in, day out, you develop some pretty amazing skills. And by the way, how long, I thought I had a slide for this, but I didn't put it up there. How long does it take to learn code? How long do you have to spend? Well, we got really good at teaching people code in World War II.
30 years, I think.
No. No, in World War II, you wanted to get them out there as fast as you could. And so it depended upon what their duty was and what exactly they'd be doing. But training before they were considered competent, which the minimum speed was 18 words per minute, was about 3 months. If you were going to go into different theaters or doing different things, it would be as long as 6 months. Now, agree, this was not 6 months of 8 hours a day of listening to code, but there was many hours a day at which they did it. These guys would learn how to read Aldous lamps, the flashing lights. Most of the time, most of the people, especially for the Navy, that were trained in Morse code, hardly ever transmitted. Last thing you want to do on the open ocean is make noise and bring attention to yourself. They would receive encrypted traffic, usually 5-letter groups, and they would copy that. There used to be a member many years ago who was a naval radio operator in the club, and he said, we almost never transmitted. We just sat there and copied code. There were all kinds of different ways. So often the news organizations would send out Morse code at hundreds of words per minute. It was recorded on a tape, and then it was played back at a slower speed across many operators, so they could essentially copy it on a typewriter in parallel. So even parallel processing was developed before parallel processing was developed. Any others?
Okay.
Thank you.
Can we have notes for the test?
Yes, yeah, and for the test.
Thanks, Kim. Appreciate it. Let's take about 10 minutes or so. We'll start back up about 10:35 with the meeting. Yes, sir.
I was not.
Here's Brody.
See what? It was, I think it was Mike Winkle. They were having. Yeah. Anyway, they were in the middle of a chat, he started.
Yeah.
So Mike had.
That's most of the.
He's got.
Yeah. KJ5, HWL.
Galen, WX5MOY.
Yeah, KD5, which KD?
Larry, W5LAG.
A5L.
Bill, A5F.
David, AI5QMS.
Thomas, Alpha Golf 5, India, Juliet.
Okay, who's the alarm's going off?
Yeah, I think we'll check, see who that is. Go ahead.
I'm Gary, currently go.
Welcome. Welcome.
Alex, AF0DU, just over here.
All right, welcome.
Amanda, PJ5, PJ8.
Mike, KJ5 ASM. Barry, KJ5 FPP. Right, yeah, what is he?
Okay, if you got a white Bronco, your alarm report is honking.
Oh, Jay.
I own that.
Oh, me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Kim Elmore, N5OP.
Chris, K5,
Mark, N5AZQ.
Mark, N5H, is that up?
All right, and on Zoom, we've got David, Steve, Levon, and Mark. Good morning, is that everyone? And I'm Rob, N5ATG. All right, it's time now for our task Mark Clayton here, just to do our moment of silence for the silent keys here, sir.
One thing we do every month is we try to remember all the hams in the area, in the region, in the country that we've lost in the last month. And it's important, I always say, to remember our older hams that live alone, that we need to go by and check on them. We do, but because you never know that you'll see them this week and you may not see them next week. So you want to do that, especially during the summertime when it's hot. So let's take a moment and remember all the hams that we lost in the last month. Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. All right, take a second. Anybody do anything cool in ham radio in the last month? Now, what time? All right. All right. That's what we want to hear.
I'm James again. We got to build, we did one antenna this last couple, 3 weeks in Elmer's night. That was a cool time. Man, you got to help with it. Who else got to help with it? Let me see some hands. Yeah. We had a great time out here and we got to test it. Well, we haven't hooked it to a radio and actually tested it yet, but we did, with it either, got to test it all. And we did it all right here in this room. It was fun. About three nights we did it together. So that was a great time.
Absolutely. That's what Elmer Nights for. So that's great. Thanks, James.
Ask Thomas about a 6-meter.
Okay. Tell us about 6 meter. Oh, you built an antenna, right?
Well, I'm still finishing up the antenna, but I'm building the 6-meter square loop antenna that's found on the W5 Elmore website, originally from some guy in Louisiana, whose name I don't remember off the top of my head, and if I could, I'd say it.
All right. Awesome. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I noted within the last 2 weeks that 6-meter has been hot. And when I say hot, you get on 6 meters any given time, whether it's voice or data, it doesn't matter. You're on 10 minutes, maybe 20 if you're lucky, and then it's gone. Well, in the last 2 weeks, we've been able to stay on for up to 2 to 3 hours. Wow. Busy. And I'm talking coast to coast in Canada. So if you're wanting to try out a 6-meter, now's the time to do it because it's working.
Anybody else? Don't have secretary minutes for last month because I gotta type them up and get them to Chris, so I haven't done that yet. Treasurer report, Mr. Larry.
Okay.
like on the far left side, no, the other side.
Profit loss, did pretty good last month. Had a net income of $1104. And well, that's got me back to see where I was. Be a second. Okay. So in the balance sheet, we've got $3,538 in the checking account. We've got 26,219 in savings, 151 in petty cash for a total of $29,909. Anyone have any questions?
All right, thank you. Ed, VE report, sir, please.
Mark is pulling up the page, I'm sure. But yes, we had another good successful session of the night with one tech, one upgrade to general, and one upgrade to amateur extra. And there are the names. You know, any of y'all here, Joshua, you're not here. Kalen, I don't see him. It's early for students, right? And John. So it was a good session. Our next one will be at 2:00 on field day on the 27th of June. Register at our normal page. VEs, I'll be emailing you to see who all's there. There's always a lot out of town. Oh, we can do it. The tech report is the temporary UHF repeater is in place. All nets have returned to the UHF if they were there before, Siren net and the film net. Right, for the main two. So other than that, it's we're assessing. I think we've got most of the dirt off. Is that right, Mark? To assess now.
It's all my front seat.
Is it true that caused those dirty skies when you blew that thing off? You know, the last couple days. And,
It was IFR getting out of the building.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was much, but no rodent activity.
None. Yeah, none.
Yeah, hey, yes, it was better than some.
All right, thanks. All right. Mr. Klein, I think we're to you, sir.
Gotta get you,
Second test.
Second test.
Second test.
Yes, we did the testing last week on the antenna, fan antenna. We built a 2040-80 fan dipole that picks up 15 as a third harmonic on 40 meters. And it was great. We had 20 people involved in that mess, and it was cool to watch everybody dig in and either learn or teach each other. All I did was bring tools and everybody else took off. It was so cool to make that happen. Thank you, Matt. We will be using that antenna on field day as the voice antenna hanging off the masts. So that was kind of cool. I would say that was such a big, I expected 3, people are like, okay, let's build the damn thing and get it up on the thing and we'll be done with this. And we had so many people interested and learn stuff. It was cool. Come up with any other projects and we'll be happy to push them forward. Solder fests or whatever you guys think is nifty. Holler at Mark or myself or Rob and we'll make it happen for you. So it was a really cool thing. Ham fests are coming up. Ham holiday is Oklahoma City / Norman now, July 24th and 25th. Hammerama down in Ardmore is the October 24th. Enid will be 11/7. They'll be up back in November. For those of you who've been before, it's back into the cooler part of the day instead of the oh my god it's hot September that we've had up there for years. They got to be able to move it back, so everybody's happy. Hamfest is a place to go buy stuff, sell stuff, learn stuff, and talk to friends, and it's kind of like a super Elmer night thing. It's really, really great.
We typically have 500-600 folks here in Oklahoma City area, about 400 in Ardmore, and probably about 150-200 in the Enid area. We are looking for volunteers for the Norman Ham Fest, the Ham and Ram. We're gonna build an entire station. Roger Bullock has a very nice to-go box. I guess to-go is what you get from McDonald's, right? No, this is a go box. He's got a nice go box situation. Larry and I are gonna drag some antennas out there. Maybe this fan dipole will go up there. We have to see what we get permission to hang off the walls at the Cleveland County Event Center. But we're looking for people to just sit and monitor the radios. You don't have to be super skilled, you just know how to turn knobs kind of thing, answer questions. There'll be always people there that's knowing going on, but we just like other folks to come spend an hour or two running that radio and answering questions that are there. So if there's newbies, you can get them going. We'll also have test equipment there so people can plug their own radio in and test it if they want to buy something from the Hamfest. So that's a new thing for us this time, since we're not walking a half mile to the parking lot. We can put an antenna out the back door and have a lot of fun. So if you're interested, get me or holler at Mark Clayton or myself, and we will put you on the list. Route 66 on the air is coming up in September. That's a cool thing. If you have a station, plan to get it up and running for the September 12th to September 20th. The idea is to contact 22 or 23 stations along Route 66. As you may be sick of hearing, Route 66 turns 100 years old this year, and we're trying to shoot for 100 different operators. The OCAPA website, ocapa.org, will have that information probably about the first part of September to sign up and get your slots to make that happen. Field day is coming. I'm sure we're going to talk about that, right, Mark?
Yes, sir.
Still got some books left for technicians that are wanting to do the technician test in June. And field day is going to be the last piece for that technician stuff. If you need a book, I've got some today. The general and extras still go for another 1 and 2 years as we go off and run it. Tests, Ed talked about our ham tests coming up at ham field day. It's a great way to do it. You can get your license and go use your new privileges on somebody else's radio, so you don't blow up your own radio. Just kidding. Whoever's bringing radios. For those of you who remember Josh Wells, was an OU student that he's been licensed forever, but he jumped on our OU Zoom call yesterday live from W1AW up at headquarters in AWL headquarters. It looks like he's made friends because there was 3 of them on there, and we sat and talked for 2 hours. Yeah, he is the W1AW station manager. So he's the guy when you hear stuff coming out of W1AW testing for voice or Morse code, he's the guy that operates those and pushes the buttons and makes it happen. So far, he's proud to report he hasn't screwed up, but one of the longer term workers has screwed up something by flipping the switch off when it shouldn't have been off. So he was having a good time up there. VHF, UHF, ARRL contest is today, tomorrow. So if you have a VHF or a UHF radio, listen on the 146.52 frequencies, and you will probably hear people that you've never heard before. If you have a sideband radio for those 2 frequencies, the sideband folks are always up and running on that bunch. If you want to look on Facebook or on the internet for OK Rover, Oklahoma Rover, Randy Wing has a great setup talking about all the different VHF contesters. He is staying home this time using his brand new home station, so he's not out driving around, but these guys put on like 1,100 miles in a weekend to work all of the corners of the UHF areas. But you can sit at home and play along as well. Just as a follow on to Kim's wonderful history of ARRL, we're going to go to the future of ARRL future is Morse code. ARRL has what's called qualifying runs. So if you go to the ARRL.org site and look for qualifying run, they will put out a bunch of text in Morse code, and all they say they start at 5 words a minute, go up to 35 or 40. 42. And it is the it will be the text out of a future QST magazine. So you copy the text, you send it in to the league with, I don't know, $5 or something, and if it matches the actual text that they sent, they will send you a nifty little wall plaque that you can put on the wall for
1 minute.
1 minute. Is it 1 minute capture?
Solid minute.
So you pay, it's not words, it's not a test, it's a 1 minute solid capture. So if you do a solid capture of that, the magazine that they're using it will come out soon, so you can't cheat. But you'll be able to see if your stuff actually matched, which is kind of cool. It's kind of a time delayed thing to look at that. So if you're interested, you just listen to any SWL radio websdr.org has a bunch of receivers that you can listen to it. If you want to just listen to Morse code and see what you can do. You don't have to have a radio, websdr.org, and copy it, send that in if you want to, get qualifications. And they'll update with stickers, I think is how they do that.
There's a few other limitations, like they do some ways to make sure you can copy it by machine. And I forget what that is.
You said they have different ways to make sure you don't copy it by machine. I think it's a guy named Herbie that comes to your house and has a club.
Yeah, I think that's.
And beats you for that.
It needs to be handwritten, but I'm not sure.
Oh, I'm sure it has to be handwritten, yeah. Yeah, you just send in perfect text for 12 minutes a copy, they're not gonna buy that.
No.
No, that's good point. But all the rules are on the qualifying run. That's a kind of cool thing to go get, neat thing to put on your wall and make that, yeah, I got yeah. He's working to do that for Merchant Marines. That's all I have. Any questions? Hey, see me after the event. Thanks.
Thanks, Mark. All right, let's run through our nets. Mr. Mike, would you do the all up? No, I'm just teasing. DMR, Cleveland County Aries. UGM. Yeah, UGM.
All right, on Monday evenings at 8:15 PM on Talk Group 3140, we have our Aries DMR net. That is actually a fun net. We're having people check in from all over the country, occasionally all over the country, and occasionally out of the country. Fun net to check in on. So that one is available. On Tuesday nights, we have the Cleveland County Aries net at 8 PM. That's a good net to check into on the VHF machine. On Thursdays at 8 PM, we have the KD5 UGO Dr. Phil Memorial Net. That's a 2-round net. First round, we just check in. The second round, we talk about anything that anybody wants to talk about.
Thanks, Mike. All right, who was here that gets on the magnet? You want to go ahead and talk about the magnet? Yeah, I should just let you do all of it.
Yeah, the MacNet is every morning, Monday through Saturday at 9 AM. It's a great net. We're having upwards around 30. Occasionally, we have close to 40 people check in. It's just a quick check-in net, and a lot of people are checking in. It's fun. And Denny, let's see. Bill does.
I just gotta remind people, we haven't, started at McDonald's during COVID. And, so far, I'm about the only one consistently there at McDonald's.
Yeah, the MacNet was a alternative during COVID, like what Bill was saying. So we started checking in over there. They still meet at McDonald's. Which one? Oh, the McDonald's on Lindsay and McGee.
Lindsay and McGee.
Yep. But what time do you guys get there?
Well, that's 9 o'clock. I usually get there 30 minutes.
All right, so they start gathering around 8:30, usually a little bit later, but Bill's the one that checks in the guys from the actual McDonald's. Okay.
Thanks. And also after, I'm sorry.
Any other names?
You just do it. And since Denny's not here, after the Cleveland County Aries nets on Tuesday nights. So right around 8:30-ish, I think, they have the gossip net on the 2-meter repeater. Which is just an opportunity to talk about whatever you want to talk about.
It's a 2-round net also.
It did a 2-round net also?
First round is check in, then they
So it's very similar to the UGO net in the way it's running. So tune in for that. Mr. Gates, do you have audio capability, or do you want me to talk about the claims?
Well, I have audio capability if you can hear me.
Go for it. We're hearing you.
Okay, on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock, we do the Aries net for McLean County. It's on 442.400. It is actually a C4 FM or wire system fusion net, but it also has the capabilities. If you have DMR or D-Star, you can actually, through a hotspot, get into it through the YSF reflector 57618. And if you have wires X, you can actually come into the room in the Tri-City room on 81281, which is called the Tri-City room. Both of those reflector and the wires X room are called Tri-City room. And then on Wednesday mornings at 8 o'clock, we meet at Jimmy's Egg every Wednesday morning and have breakfast. And we've had 6 to 8 people there. And I think everybody usually has a good time. We end up talking longer than we probably realize we should, but anybody's welcome and everybody should come by and see if you get a chance.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, David. Do we have any 6 and 10 meter activity lately? Oh, see. I should give you my later.
I can't help with the 10 meter. Okay, on Monday nights at 8 PM, we have a 6 meter net. And there's been a handful of us, I'm hit or miss on there, but Jeff was on Monday, Jim was on Monday, and myself, we all 3 of us were on. Yeah, it's 50.2. And like Mark was saying, I've been on 6 meters. It's been pretty active. I've been hearing people from all over the country. And then Kim. He was talking to, or Kurt was hearing people from all over the world, Monday of last week.
Cool, thank you.
All
right.
What time was that again, Miles? 8 PM on Mondays, on screen.
8 on Monday.
And just so you know, like, I could talk to Jim on my horizontal. I had talked to Jeff on my vertical, but they could hear, both of them could hear me on either of them.
You stud, you.
So I was just kind of pushing back.
All right, Ed, Cybernet, I mean, we can let Mike do it since he's done all that stuff.
He was on the roll. Better stop on the roll. We have a siren net on Saturday noon local time after testing, which we are testing today. Have you heard from Noble yet?
No, but I assume they are.
Yeah. So it looks like everybody's testing today, so grab a siren. We do have plenty available. Galen's the father of a new siren, number 45. And if you ask me the location, I can tell you.
1900s or 1990s Cypress Creek Drive. Good luck
Yes.
finding.
There you go. So there are plenty of sirens, in case you're curious, for anybody new. Norman's got 69, Moore's got 45, Newcastle's got at least 9, and I think Noble's up to 7. So we need people, obviously, spotters. That's right. And we do help the emergency managers around. I know like 11 and Norman was reporting on for a while. There'll be occasionally people who don't understand it's an outdoor warning siren. So we help answer those questions of, is this siren actually sounding? We help troubleshoot some. So the other thing I would say is, for some reason, several of our NCOs for the sirenet have decided to move across the country this summer. So if you're interested in being a net control operator on the sirenet, it is probably the easiest net to be an NCO on, because it's all scripted, it's quick, it's easy, and it's on Saturdays. But come see me if you need it. If you don't come see me, I will be out showing, voluntold. Yeah, whatever that military word is, isn't it? So I'll be hunting you down if you don't hunt me down.
Thanks, Ed. I think it's fair to say all of these nets can take net control operators. So if you're interested in any of these nets, go ahead.
On the sirens, at least more in Norman, our sirens have electronic diagnostics on them. So typically as the emergency manager, putting my other hat on here. As the emergency manager, I generally know which ones are working and not working. However, having ears on the actual ground
is highly important because sometimes the diagnostics don't pick up that, yeah, the siren's sounding, but it's not sounding properly. I had that one with the one down at the railroad here a couple of weeks ago. It ran, but it sounded funny. Well, it turned out that the brushes in the motor were bad, so we had it fixed. And now, you know, it hopefully sounds good, doesn't it, Thomas? Isn't that one you get? Somebody, that's-
Is that the one at the railroad crossing
Yeah.
on 35th Street?
yeah,
I've only listened for that one once in particular, but I usually hear it.
yeah.
And it's the one week you guys asked for it, I did before.
Yeah, and that was much appreciated. You know, the diagnostics are good. It tells us whether we've got communications with it, tells us whether we have power, but it doesn't necessarily tell us everything we need to know. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Grizzle and Amy say thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm sure the folks in Noble and Newcastle do too.
Yes, thanks, sir. But if you are interested in net control, learning to be in net control, there are several, you know, the roll call nets. I believe the siren net's a roll call net essentially, so it is probably one of the easier ones. And I even think in both areas, I know McLean County is, probably Cleveland, I believe, is roll call net also, at least to start with. So it's a pretty good net to start with. And then of course the open form nets like the Gossip Net and the UGO net. So just good opportunities if you're interested in learning to be a net control operator.
By the way, if you live in Oklahoma City and hear one that's malfunctioning, tell one of us and we'll get it up to there too.
All right. Thank you. Okay, moving on. The whole business I've got is field day. We're there. So Mark.
Okay, I don't have a soapbox, but here. 2 weeks. 2 weeks, guys. We're just 2 weeks away from our Super Bowl. It's what we do. It's what we practice for. We've got between Rob and Mark and a whole bunch of people, we're gonna make this happen. We've got a heck of a setup. We're gonna have 3 major stations. SSB, digital, and CW. And I will tell you for the coming up, the SSB and the digital, we have the wonderful option of having Mr. Galen Keach's emergency management truck for more. That will be set up down here, and Kim Elmore is gonna have a high-tech air-conditioned tent out there, fire tower out there for CW. So let me tell you what, and then we're working on having 6 meter setup. We're gonna do a WinLink station setup. We're gonna do a GOTA station setup. We need people to run all this. And I'm not talking an hour. I'm talking for the 24-hour run. So if you want to take a nap in the afternoon and come up and spend 3 or 4 hours at night, hey, great. We've got some that's gonna be here, but we need more. We got, we're gonna do food. Got people running that. We're gonna have the testing. Ed's gonna do that with his team.
That open bar again this year?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you now here, keep this in mind. Thank you for the intro into that one. But we're gonna have water, you know, ice chest full of water and stuff. Yeah, sorry, Bill, no beer. But we're gonna have snacks in this room here. Because guys at 2 a.m. in the morning get hungry. Some of them that's still out there roaming around the countryside show up here to eat.
Yep.
But if you want to bring some snacks for field day for all the hams that's going to be here, you're more than welcome to encourage that. Bring them in here. We'll set up tables for that so they can come in at different times and get snacks and so forth. If you want to bring other drinks, Cokes, what not, you know, canned drink stuff, that's fine. We'll accommodate it. We'll make sure they get Coke. We just need a lot of participation. You're talking to one of your ham buddies that's not here today. Tell them, hey, 2 weeks. We need to come out here. Even if you can't handle the heat, hopefully we don't have a lot of heat that day, but we'll see. And you want to stay a couple hours, you can, and then leave and then come back, that's fine. But we need a lot of help. More people we have do this, the better the field they will be. And like we always say, and I try to tell people this, it is not a contest. It's how well you get out in the field and set up equipment, antennas, cables, and work the radios.
So why do you keep score?
You get people like this. But we keep score because the ARRL gets to see how well you're making communications across the country and how many contacts you make and where. And they kind of track that of how you actually, you know, where you're talking to, where you, like our club last year, majority of them was to the west and northwest. Why? I don't know. Guess the conditions, weather conditions, atmospheric conditions. That's what happened.
Damn Yankees.
Yeah, we got some from these, but we got more from the west and northwest. They track this. And so that's why we do that.
Keeping score gives us a chance to measure what we do against what we did last year. the year
Yes.
before.
a contest.
It's a metric.
It's not.
It's a metric.
It is a.
It's a metric way of seeing how well we do and how well we're doing against last year. We want to do a whole lot better than last year. We want to take what we did last year and improve on it. So get excited, get ready for this Super Bowl setup in 2 weeks. And if you have questions, you want to help, come see us. Yes, Mike.
What are you setting up antennas?
We're preliminary planning to do the antennas Friday evening after 5. Won't take long if we got people here to do it. We're gonna set up the 3 major antennas. Now, the other ones can easily be set up Saturday morning with the other stations, the wind link, 6 meter, so forth. That shows people them setting them up and why we're doing it that way. But the 3 major ones, we can do it real quick. And then Saturday morning, say around 8:30, we start collecting here on Saturday morning. And we start getting the cables out, we start going through and setting up the radio gear. We have our safety meeting with our safety chairman that gives you an idea of the setups and what you can and can't do and what you gotta look out for, that kind of stuff. That meeting doesn't last generally real long, but he covers quite a bit. And that's important. And then we go from there. And then by the time it starts at 1 o'clock, we are in operational mode. We're ready to go. So everybody get excited, get ready. If you have questions, you want to bring some gear or something, get with me, get with Rob, say something. Thanks.
Or just bring it.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, so your safety officer is gonna get started early here. When you come to work on things, if you're going to be outside working on the antennas or working on stuff, make sure you dress properly. That means like closed-toed shoes and proper attire for what you're doing. Field day is all about having fun. It's why we're here. You know, we're here to play with radios and learn and have fun with our electronics and fellowship. And we're gonna do all of that, gosh, for a whole day and a half. You know, we'll start Friday night and start early with the antennas on Saturday, and we'll start operating about 1. We'll operate all night. We'll operate Sunday morning, and about 1 o'clock Sunday afternoon, we'll all be spooked, but we'll tear it down and go. So, but make sure that we do things in a safe manner and a proper manner. This is not the place to be, you know, just rigging, oh, hey, we can get by doing this. Please don't do that. We want this to be a safe, and you can't have fun if you're not safe. So, safety officer, shut up now. By the way, there is an organizational chart hanging over here. If you want to look, see what's doing. If you want to help volunteer, now you know who to talk to.
Get us somewhere.
For those of you that were here Wednesday or last Tuesday during Elmore night, saw my new tower trailer. It will be here during field day. It is a unique build on the antenna. Did not come from any fans, so it is built to go up quickly. Should be on there with the antennas up in about 20 minutes. Covered multiple bands. So come out, take a look at it, see what we're doing. This is a set that will be available to be used at many of our events that we do around and demonstrations around the city and state. So come out and check it out.
We have the helicopter mode enabled.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
We like to joke about this stuff, but Field Day is the biggest non-contest contest of the year, and its original motivation was, well, it's fun, but also it was emergency preparedness. It's rare anymore. We've gotten really good at building robust communication systems everywhere. But robust doesn't mean indestructible and without possible failure. And so part of what we do is keep the knowledge about how to set up in the middle of pretty much nothing with ideally no commercial power available. That's easy to break. And it's easy, it's not unheard of to break all of the cell phone communications too. And so what's left? Well, it's just radio stuff. Are the days when amateurs were the unsung heroes, saviors of the Titanic, the ones that got the medicine through and did the communications, they're not gone, but they're simply more rare because we've gotten better at building the communications infrastructure that is robust to disasters and weather. But robust doesn't mean indestructible. So come out and remind yourself how to do that stuff.
Yes, thank you. And for those that are interested in photos and sodas and those sorts of things, it's a similar kind of thing on a smaller scale. So there are still opportunities to get out there and practice not having power and setting your antennas up.
Hey, by the way, if you know your city councilman or officials or your police chiefs or your fire chiefs, or your emergency managers, talk to them, encourage them to come by and see what we're doing. You know, it benefits their community. And by the way, we will have dignitaries here. I'm sure that, Clayton, did you ever talk to your buddy, the mayor of Elmore? He's ignoring me. All of our elected officials. So, if they come out, show them what we do. And please invite them to come.
Yeah, and so they'll get an email from me officially, but it's always better too, the more people that you know them, contact them and try to encourage them to stop by at some point before our period. So also to kind of follow along with Kim's presentation, if that interested you in any way in CW and you actually want to hear it real live or see it live and hear it, there's going to be a tent out there by the training tower
And work it.
and be a DLX tent out there. It'll be air conditioned.
It's nice and comfy.
But that will be the CW station. So come by, check it out, because and you will not get a nicer emergency communications scenario than to be in Galen's truck if you want to do sideband or digital.
It's also air conditioned.
It is also gray air conditioning. It's very nice. So you won't get it if you want an opportunity set in a very nice emergency communication situation, because I've not seen any other ones like that. So
We did one year actually have severe weather come through that knocked out commercial power.
okay, so one time we had us during field day.
During field,
During field day, we've had power knocked out before with severe weather. So no, it's a really neat opportunity. And we need to make the most of it that we can. Like I'm excited about Larry's antenna. He had it out here, like he said, Tuesday. Mark's comment about the collective or whatever, not being on it, because if we got to tie it down so it doesn't spin, but it's awesome. The painter poles or the extension poles, and I think it's gonna be really neat. I think that's the spirit of it and testing things out. So, hope to see everybody there.
If you wanna know why we're making a big deal about the air conditioning, those of us in the old days, we used to set up in a pavilion out at Reeves Park. And it was hot and muggy and buggy, and then
And 1 foot deep in the bathrooms.
yeah,
Oh, that's.
problems with bathrooms. And we would have to, oh my gosh, the rain's coming, so we'd have to try and put tarps up.
Right.
It's
Right.
fun, but you know what? It was really miserable.
Yeah.
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 But it was fun. It was really,
It really was.
So, like Mark said, feel free to bring snacks. We'll keep them in here in the training room. We'll try to make it as fun as we can.
It was fun in a miserable sort of way.
Fun, miserable way.
Just remember,
Yes, sir.
It was miserable in a fun sort of way.
just remember that we're actually doing this to show the public, hey, we can set up at a moment's notice, we can set up equipment and go and talk coast to coast. And that's why we practice this.
So my question on this, the last field day I did was 1988, so it's been a day or two. I don't remember, do you use your individual calls or do you use a club call or what?
We will use a club call. Good question. We will use the club call. Yep. W5NOR.
Okay.
And we're gonna be listed each time you go to a field day, depending on how many major stations they have set up. They got a number and a letter with it, based on what type of power hookup and where they're located. We're at a fire station, so we're 3F. That's what major 3 stations we have, even though we might set up 3 or 4 more other stations. We got the 3 major stations, so we're gonna be W5NOR 3F. So,
Hey, Rob, you wanna talk about the GOTA station?
Yeah, so we're gonna try to have a couple of things. We're gonna try to have a lending station of it. Will not be up 24 hours. We just don't have the people to do that. So it's not like an official, it's one of our 3 official stations. We can, if we could have enough people.
You did
Right.
it truck.
I guess we could, but yeah, we could have it up going in the truck. People could check. I am building a tactical call for field day for us and we'll just give out that password to those that are operating. So, if we have people that are willing to work a GOTA station to help people that have never, been on the air before, obviously go to get on the air. We'll do that. We've had some interest in putting up, at least for a little while, a 6-meter antenna and letting since 6 meters is kind of hot right now, so that people that have never had that opportunity can kind of at least hear it or even operate that as long as we have people that can work it. So they're not really one of our 3 main stations that gives us our classification. But again, in the spirit of field day, let's come out, try it, experiment, have some fun. So we are certainly going to try to have as much opportunities for those folks as we can.
If you're a technician and have never done HF, there will be plenty of opportunities to let you play on sideband or let you
That's right.
play on other modes, things that you may not have the license for yet, but
Right.
still can play with it.
Right, yeah, Galen's saying for those on, that may not have heard, so if you're a technician, you don't have your general yet, but you want to experiment with, HF, there's gonna be plenty of opportunities, both sideband or voice, as well as digital modes. So, and both of those stations will be in Galen's truck, on opposite ends typically, and the truck is so well sound insulated, you're never even gonna hear the other station, so it works out really well. So you can work one for a while and just walk down the hall, you can work the other. So it's a really neat opportunity.
And anything you find wrong with the truck, just let us know, because that's the value.
Right.
That's why the city allows me to bring it down
Right.
here, is that it.
We haven't found an exercise. It's an exercise.
Yeah, it's an exercise.
So it's an opportunity to, like you said, to find problems that you have with your equipment.
Or make it better.
Yeah, we can.
I'm sorry.
We haven't found anything yet.
I've never had a problem, right?
Never had a problem.
Never
We
had a
won't
problem.
talk about Chris and sawing part of the ceiling out. Which benefited us.
Yeah, it's just a neat opportunity. It's a really neat opportunity.
Yeah, I guess so.
Do we, oh, wait,
Okay. Our wonderful chairman this year for food is Mr. Bill Lockett here. Let's give him a nice applause for that. He's got a lunch on Saturday, a dinner Saturday night, which we barbecue and grill and that kind of stuff, you know, all that. And then we have a breakfast Sunday morning. He can't do it by himself. We need people to help volunteer to help the lunch and the dinner and the breakfast. And help Bill do this. We don't need a dozen people, we need 3 or 4 that can help him to do that. And if you're a pro at grilling at home, you can help grill here Saturday nights, that's simple. Not one person needs to stand there grilling. So we need that kind of stuff behind the scenes that would help Bill to do the lunch, the dinner and the breakfast. Thanks.
If anybody would like to help, meet me here right after the meeting.
And you still want us to bring side dishes and desserts?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, please
Dinner
bring side
Saturday
dishes.
night, bring side dishes and stuff for that, like, you know, barbecue setup.
Yeah.
Excess food.
Hamburgers,
is a
hot
box,
dogs.
hamburgers, hot dogs, hot
On
wings,
the
and then
Saturday night.
I do have a
bring
budget.
side dishes and stuff that would go with it.
I need to
That'd be great for Saturday night.
look at what that is. In fact, Mark and I were talking about that earlier, so
Okay.
we'll make sure we get the budget numbers and get that shopping stuff all worked out. Any field day questions?
I think it was perfect.
All right, very good. Today I don't have any new business unless somebody has anything. I think, I'm not aware of any sirens that aren't gonna test today, so I guess we'll go ahead and adjourn. For our July meeting will be on the, I believe it's the 11th of July. Mr. Fred McGuire, Freddie Mac on YouTube or Ham Radio Crusader, he's gonna be here he's from Henrietta area. To talk about All-Star Link, so it'll be a entertaining program, so, unless anybody has any other announcements or questions or comments. We're adjourned. We'll see you next month.
Let me.
Click over. That should be number. Okay. Which one are you doing? This is the one thing square. It's a sandwich. Yeah. Big barbecue Saturday. Great lights. Yeah, I don't have a lot. I look for the solo cups. Yeah, we usually get the big box. We can get 3 or 5 of those. Size. Yes. Buy big items. You see the monster back there, you know, in here, and it's nice. We're gonna need ice. So either one. Yes, they would. That's not available. We're gonna have to bring in some bags, but I don't know. Saturday night, and then, well, that's actually early Saturday. We gotta have that. I got to spend it on this guy. And then Sunday morning, we have to
Yeah. Putting out any cameras. think we could even use. Probably.
Yeah.
Why don't we just buy regular ones? It's got the warranty deals on it.
That's. Yes, but so that's all, so probably will go only Tom and all.
Well, solar. I guess, we're gonna have to find trades, and make menus on them. Or, you know, what, and all the other Sam's Clubs or help shopping. I'm not. All right. When is your bank?
Just tell me when.
Okay.
I'll try to make it. He's gonna have something. Also got lines of.
Not different reach.
You think it's something?
Okay. Is this where you get the food? Yeah. You get the first crack and you food. Well, we have to say something. That's everything.
I like to raise
Absolutely. I have all three of them. I did that all the time when I worked in the British Department. Like packages of pre-cut watermelon, cantaloupe, et cetera. I'm sure it tastes good.
I never thought about that.
You're probably the 340.
Those nations.
I haven't called myself yet. Okay.
You can also.
You can have a meeting about it. We need a meeting. Okay. So when's release time?
Oh, I told you.
What? Well, you didn't know, I thought you planned about it. Somebody planned for it. How many more field days, you might know, club and that. Steve, noon Saturday, the food was just. What time you want it? What? Nothing too much in shipping. Noon. Meal. When you want it. I don't know. Okay. I'm thinking 3 a.m. I'm really good. There's not gonna be much.
See, I'll give
Maybe bringing a student.
All right.
I don't even know why I was saying I want to shop. Really.